Breaking the ice has taken on a whole new meaning at the Winter Olympics.
And we have a few more frosty stories for you, from orca conservation to polar bear resiliency. Coming to you on the Feel Good Fastlane, your quick ride to a world that doesn't suck.
We're your hosts, Elliot Chaparelli
and Joy Shanti Watkis. History was made in the ice rings of Milan, Italy at the 2026 Winter Olympics. 22-year-old Laila Edwards became the first Black woman to be on the U.S. women's Olympic hockey team, just in time for the 100th year of Black History Month, which Laila is currently celebrating with a gold medal. Laila has been on the ice since she was 3 years old, originally giving figure skating and hockey a try, but as she puts it, she just couldn't get down with the tutus.
My dad had a plan. He put us in figure skating and hockey at the same time, but he knew that we were gonna end up in hockey. The tutus didn't cut it.
When asked about her love for the game, she said, quote, "It's cliche, but it's my safe space where I just feel like I can be myself and do what I love, along with a lot of really good athletes and against good athletes," end quote. Laila is the second ever African-American player on an Olympics hockey team, following Jordan Greenway's debut with the men's team at the 2018 Olympics. Growing up in Cleveland Heights, Ohio, Laila found herself being the only female on a lot of her teams. During an interview with CBS News, she said, quote, "There's no rule book that says hockey is for boys. There's no reason you shouldn't do it if you love it. I think that's with everything in life," end quote. I couldn't agree more. Laila is a continued example of doing what you love and succeeding, no matter what cards may be stacked against you. An inspiring story of breaking barriers, perfectly aligned with Black History Month. Now here's Elliot with some encouraging news from under the sea.
Did you know that on the sea floor, fiber optic cables stretch between countries and continents? We have so many billions of miles of cables, they could wrap around the Earth multiple times. The reason we have these cables is to make the internet work around the world. If we didn't have them, you couldn't hear me on Feel Good Fastlane right now. But researchers think these cables could have an even greater purpose. They could help us study and protect marine life, specifically orcas. The University of Washington recently began a research project led by Dr. Shima Abadi. She's an oceanographer and professor at UW-Bothel's School of STEM with a joint appointment at UW's School of Oceanography. She and her team started with a 2-mile expanse of existing telecom cables in the Harrow Strait off the coast of Washington. They're using something called Distributed Acoustic Sensing, or DAS. A DAS unit is connected to the cables and transforms the entire array into a sensor. It then sends out laser pulses across the cables. When these pulses are disrupted by whale sounds, Dr. Abadi and her team know the exact location of the orcas. Here's what those orcas sound like. Using deep-sea telecom infrastructure to protect nature is revolutionary. Previously, research teams had to use hydrophones to track orcas and other marine life. Hydrophones are exactly what they sound like, underwater microphones. But that meant we could only track the animals at specific locations. These southern resident orcas that Dr. Abadi and her team are studying are critically endangered, so we need all the information we can get to save them. With fiber optic cables crisscrossing the entire ocean, we'll be able to track marine mammals wherever they go and create more accurate maps of migration routes, feeding areas, and habitat use. That's really good news because it could prevent ship strikes and confusion from underwater noise pollution. About her research, Dr. Abadi wrote, "This innovative approach could be a breakthrough in conservation efforts." When deep-sea cables are laid, the telecom companies have to be careful to keep marine impacts to a minimum. Some experts do say they've been successful, but others say we still don't fully understand the impact these cables can have on marine life. The cables are roughly the size of a garden hose, and some of those cables are sunk deeper than the height of Mount Everest. That means they're 2 to 5 miles below the surface of the ocean. The first transatlantic fiber optic cables were laid in the late 80s. But believe it or not, we've been laying transatlantic cables of one kind or another since the 1800s. We actually started with telegraph cables. We've obviously made technological advances since the days of the telegraph, but I, for one, am glad to finally see these cables used to protect the environment in which they exist. I believe we owe it to the ocean after using it to harbor our global communication system for well over 100 years. All right, back to Joy Ashanti to continue celebrating Black History Month.
2026 marks the 100th year of celebrating Black History Month. And since I already gave you some present-day history in the making, shout out to Laila once more, I wanted to share how the past and the future are meeting this moment too. Back in 2016, at the age of 89, Dr. Opal walked from her home in Fort Worth, Texas to Washington, D.C. to bring awareness to Juneteenth. She walked 2.5 miles every day, which represented the 2.5 years it took for enslaved people in Galveston, Texas to know they were freed. This is widely known as Opal's Walk for Freedom. Since then, Dr. Opal is known as the grandmother of Juneteenth. Now, what does this have to do with today? Well, in 2026, Dr. Lee is one of the newest honorees of Barbie's Inspiring Women series, joining legendary leaders like the late Dr. Jane Goodall and Rosa Parks. The Opal Lee Barbie doll has glasses, a blue Opal's Walk for Freedom t-shirt, white pants, and white sneakers. When asked about the honor, Dr. Opal Lee, now 99, said, quote, "It has been a joy to partner with Barbie on my Inspiring Women doll. I hope my story encourages the next generation to never underestimate the power of one voice. As I often say, one person can start a change, and that can change the world." End quote. Speaking of change, here's how a bright future is being shaped right now. The HBCU Southern University is making huge strides in improving the future of Black healthcare in America. While their School of Nursing celebrates their 40th year anniversary, they just graduated their largest ever class of Black male nurses. Based in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Southern University is the largest producer of Black nurses in the state and third largest in the country. These graduates will continue to help close the healthcare gaps in America. With an increase in current and prospective nursing students, Southern University is adding a new state-of-the-art building set to open its doors in 2028. Past, present, and future, Black history continues to thrive. Over to Elliot with our final feel-good story about polar bears beating the odds.
Polar bears in Svalbard, Norway are doing far better than expected despite climate change. In a recently published study of the animals that stretched from 2000 to 2019, scientists were surprised to find that the bear's body condition actually improved over that time period. That means that despite melting ice where the polar bears live, they're still hunting, finding shelter, and reproducing. It's not the first time these iconic bears have beaten the odds. Studies in Greenland and Alaska showed similar results. This resiliency is fantastic news, but we still have to make sure we're all fighting climate change and doing right by all these endangered species. Here's a quick lesson on some other animals that have adapted to climate change. There's the Australian parrot, whose bill surface has grown by up to 10% in order to dissipate heat more easily. We also have the Caribbean lizards, who have used natural selection to develop larger toe pads and stronger front legs to cling to trees and survive hurricanes. And finally, vicuña in the Andes are helping accelerate plant growth in barren landscapes with their poop. The transportation of nutrients via excrement can accelerate plant growth by over 100 years. This creates more habitable land for the vicuña and other mountain animals. There's your bite-sized brightness for the day. Short stories that will leave you feeling good and knowing good fast.
Enjoy the ride? Please like, follow, comment, and share to keep the good traffic flowing.